Welcome, everybody. Did you know the first movie to sweep the Oscars in all 5 major categories, including Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, and Best Screenplay, was Frank Capra's It Happened One Night, starring Clark Gable in 1934. Can anyone name the only other movie to do this? It was Jack Nicholson's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in 1975. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to On the Grind. I'm your host, Chirag T. Patel, and the T is very important. First and foremost, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for being here tonight. You know, like I always say, you guys could have been anywhere in the world. You're here with me, and I really appreciate that. I got a question for you. How many people in here can truly say that they're following their passion and their dreams right now? Be completely honest. Awesome. All of those people that raised their hands, how many of you work 10, 12 hours a day on your craft every day? Way more. Awesome. Those of you that raised their hands, you guys are probably the happiest people in this room. You may not even make $1 on your company right now. But those 12 hours, 14 hours don't feel like work. It's like you could wake up and you just do it, right? And this is what the show is all about. Finding your passion, learning to monetize it, and then putting in incredible amount of work until you're successful. All right, ladies and gentlemen, does everybody have the app Veryfier? Yes. I know you got my email. Yes. So now I want to introduce the Veryfier team. The founder and co-founder. These guys are going to give you more insight about the app, how to use it, and see how it's going to bring you value. So please help me introduce Laurent Piani, the founder, Frank Brennis, the co-founder, Ozzie Areu, and Will Areu are also investors in this app. So please help me welcome the Veryfier team.
Hi guys. First of all, I wanted to thank you for coming. I'm coming from France and I'm very proud being part of America and this beautiful city of Atlanta. Thank you.
Thank you for having us, guys. Like they say, we're in hot Atlanta! Love it here, guys. We are so happy, we're fortunate, and I gotta tell you, the city's hospitality is amazing. We're just completely thankful. Thank you, guys.
Astonished. We're gonna move pretty soon here, right?
Yeah, sure.
So we came all the way, all the team. I met our awesome partners. This is an example of success. And Frank, my guy since the beginning, and so we came all the way from Los Angeles to talk to you a little bit about Veryfier. So Veryfier is basically very easy. The questions in mind is like, you guys, when you decide to buy something online, that is a used product, right? We all do the same thing, especially on Craigslist. It's always bad, right? And that app is going to help you to actually hire a third person that, as a buyer, you're going to decide whoever you want to hire. So basically what you're going to do as a buyer, you're going to post a job, and you're going to have all these people, and everybody here can become a verifier. So there's no distinction. We don't care about that. Everybody can become a verifier, from an entry-level person that has few skills, from an expert. You don't have to pay hundreds of dollars to make sure that it's safe for you guys. I have the same problem. I have a factory in Brazil. I build cars. I have a warehouse in LA where I bring those cars, and I have nobody over there. So I built that concept based on that. Like almost 2 years ago, I started in my bedroom. And that was great because I was like, you know, I love Craigslist. Well, hold on, I hate Uber, but I love Lyft. And I combine all of that, all that stuff together, right? Craigslist, Uber, and Upwork. I don't know if you guys know Upwork. It's a platform where you basically post a job like Veryfier right now, and you want a logo. You're going to post a job, and you got all these guys that's going to apply for the job, and then you decide whoever you want to hire. So that's what Veryfier is all about. It's this whole blocks together in one block called Veryfier. So you don't have to worry about anything anymore. And
Yeah, so as my friend Laurent said, he's basically the founder of the company. We're very proud that he had this vision. So at the end of the day, who's bought products online here?
everybody.
Oh my
here.
gosh.
And Craigslist
Since
give us-
2017, everyone,
Yeah.
right? So in the back of your head, if it's a semi-expensive product, you're like, I wonder if what that seller says is legit, right? Right? And you're like, wait a minute, I wish I can somehow send somebody out there to be my advocate, because this guy might not be telling the truth. So that's exactly what Veryfier is. And with that, there's a community out there that we're basically bringing on called Veryfiers that are going to get paid for their time, like Laurent said about Uber. So essentially, in a nutshell, that's what it is. The technology is cool, but what's better is the service that we provide.
Right. DJ,
Any questions? I guess.
is the sound working? Or? So guys, we're gonna turn this video from the beginning so you can have a better understanding of what it's all about. If we got some sound.
Welcome to Veryfier, your soon-to-be new favorite app when it comes to buying used products online. So this is how it works. Depending on the category of used item that you're looking to buy, and depending on the location of that item, Veryfier will help you find local experts like these qualified people who will meet with the seller first and then give you confirmation that the used item is as advertised. So this means that if you found that dream Mustang a few thousand miles away and everything in the description looks great, but you're not too sure about the current owner, you can now send a local mechanic like this guy, or like this guy who's an actual Mustang specialist, to go examine the car in person for you. All you have to do now is open the accurate and unbiased report that just came in. And if that item is much smaller than a car, or much bigger, Veryfier's here for one thing: peace of mind. Veryfier. A few bucks could save you thousands.
Thank you.
So that's it in a nutshell, what our app essentially does. It's, again, we love the aspect of that crowd servicing, you know. Think of that, we can immediately create jobs, which this country needs, right? We need a lot of jobs, right? And so this tool here can essentially create hundreds upon hundreds of jobs, thousands if not. And, you know, with the assurance factor, that's always what we aim for. But that's pretty much it on my end. Laurent, do we have anything else?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about how it works.
Oh,
So-
we're gonna look at the app.
Yeah, so basically, let's say I'm a buyer and Frank is a verifier, right? And I got an issue because I don't trust that guy. It might be a local person, right? It doesn't matter. It might be in a different state, but you want to be sure that what you're gonna buy is really what it is. That guy is not trying to screw up. You go to a mechanic, you go to this garage, and this guy is like selling you tons of bullshit. Sorry to talk like that, but you can trust that guy. You always need someone else to help you, right? So either local or different state or country is the same problem. It's the same problem at the end of the day. So let's say Frank is a verifier, I'm a buyer. So easy steps. We want to make everybody's life easier and everybody be happy. He makes money as a verifier, and myself, I buy that car that is reliable and it's gonna last. So I'm gonna post a job in 3 steps. What it is, you see, it's gone now, but that's fine. What it is, where it is, when I need a verifier, and I just post a job. I'm trying to make the buyer's life easy. As soon as it's done, I sit tight back on my couch with Frankie, and he actually get notified. He's like, "Oh, Lauren posted a job, right?" And he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna apply for it." And it's a free marketplace. That's everybody here could apply to the same job. It's up to you to defend yourself. Like, hey, this is what I can do for that price, and I'm available. That's very important too. And he applies. He gets hired because I like you, actually, right?
So my rating was good.
Yeah, you were
We have
good.
a rating
Yeah, yeah,
system
yeah.
in there. My rating was good.
So I
and-
hired the guy. As soon as I hired the guy, the platform makes sure that it's safe for both sides. So the money gets, the buyer's credit card gets charged right away on our escrow system. So everybody's safe from there. And then he goes on the job and he actually take pictures, videos, and the description, send that back to me, and this is what I consider as an unbiased report. This is my eyes. Sends me the report, I get notified, I release the funds before having a possibility to watch that report. He gets paid, I know what I'm buying, everybody's happy. That's all about it. Easy.
Yep. So I would, earn depending on what I bid for that job. So
Right.
depending on the skill level. So in this example, it's a car, right? And let's say, you can hire a mechanic. We have skilled and non-skilled people on there. But let's just say the guy just wants, he's in LA, and there's a nice 13, who likes 13 window VWs?
23.
Buses.
Oh, yes, those are 13 too. I'm sorry, Frank.
23. 23, those huge, beautiful VW buses. They're big collector items. So essentially, the verifier can be as in-depth as, going in there, checking the engine, or it can be somebody kicking the tires, making sure it's physically there, there's no rust, or maybe they need to check and verify the VIN number, and send that report back. Because essentially, the buyer just wants that assurance from the verifier that someone else looked at these things that are important to them. And if you guys have ever been around car guys, they're pretty, who's been around car guys here? Right, what do you guys think of them? I mean, I know Ozzie's one, right? I mean, so he'll look at everything there. He'll see every nick and cranny, any scratch. You just want to make sure everything is up to par and you're getting what you're paid for. So that's it, There's no product being sold. We don't sell products. The only product we really sell is that assurance that you're going to get from a third-party person.
Totally.
And like I said, my rating score, so let's say I did 3 or 4 jobs, that buyer is going to rate the verifier, okay? And so that verifier score is going to keep going up, and then they're going to be, if you're going to hire somebody, you're going to want to hire somebody that's been doing it for a while. So you have a question?
Yes, I was going to ask, the farther the business that you want to purchase a product from,
Sure.
does the price of the verifier go higher?
So the question was, the farther the item is to go verify, does the price go up, right? So the way we built the system was essentially based, like as Laurent said, it's a marketplace, right? So if I'm posting anything, it's all about the verifiers saying, hey, I'll do that for $20, or maybe, hey, I'll do that for $100.
That's up to you.
Yeah, it's up to you. So
It really
it's
depends on what you require from, when you buy something, you always have different requirements, right? Either you want to make sure that the engine is cranking, or you want to get a deeper analysis of that product. You want to make sure there's no rust, blah, blah, blah. So it's really up to you. Like I got another company that is building, as I said, buses in Brazil. And I got that customer that hired the Veryfier, which is our company, and he paid more because he wanted to make sure that it is really what it is. So you had a choice between paying $350 or $500, and he paid $500 because he doesn't, there's no.
So for all the investors out there, it's a high ticket item.
Yep.
Call me. Are we good with time? Can we take questions or?
Well, we got Q&A afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, I got you though. We're good to go.
Thank you, guys.
Again, thank you.
This gentleman has produced more than 1,400 television episodes. The movies he has produced has grossed hundreds of millions of dollars. He's responsible for creating hundreds of jobs, bringing in new projects, leading one of the biggest movie studios in the country. He's a recipient of the Georgia Highlight Award for recognizing the work of Georgia entertainment professionals. He's the first American Latino to run a major film and television studio. He worked on the set of arguably the most successful NBC sitcom, the Emmy-winning show Friends. He's recognized as the Father of the Year by the American Diabetes Association. He now has friends in high places, but he started from the bottom and now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the president, the executive producer of Tyler Perry Studios, Ozzie Areu.
Havana.
Thank you.
Havana.
I got it on. Yeah, you go. Wow. What a crowd. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you all for coming. I know there's a couple large groups here that have come as well, and I couldn't be more honored. What a great group of people. I've been here for about an hour now, and I've spoken to so many of you guys, and thank you for coming. And I got to say, that was an amazing,
the short version.
Well, thank you for that. And I got to say, I couldn't do it without this guy right here, my brother. He's my best friend, and
Absolutely. Well,
thank you. And he's my right hand. I mean, we're like this, and I'm super blessed to have him.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Ozzie, before we get started, I just have like a personal question. Do you think I can make it in Hollywood?
For sure, man.
No, I'm serious.
He's got it, right? He's
the-
got it.
The first Indian actor.
Why not?
Well, you know, I was supposed to be in Slumdog.
I got
but,
you, man. I got you.
You know,
I got
not only did that guy steal my role, he stole my last name too. Anyway, Ozzie, seriously, thank you. I know how busy you are, so take the time out, be here, really means a lot. You know, what I want to do is I want to hop in a DeLorean, take it back, all the way back to when you were a kid, because you can learn a lot about a person knowing where they came from, you know, their experiences. So can you tell us, you know, where you're from, what city did you grow up in, and what you were like as a young man?
Sure. So I was born in LA. At about 3 or 4 years old, my parents moved us to Orlando, Florida. And we grew up there until we were about 14 years old, then went back to LA. And I was in LA for all those years until about 12 years ago when I was blessed and fortunate enough to meet Mr. Tyler Perry.
So your family is from Cuba, right?
That's correct. My parents were both born in Cuba. I was born in LA, first generation Cuban American, and extremely proud of that.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
growing up, did you guys, like you and your brother, do anything like entrepreneurial, start, you know, lemonade stands, paper routes, or like work any kind of odd jobs?
Yeah, I think we did what some kids do growing up, is you find jobs in the neighborhood, and we would cut lawns and cut the grass and do the edging and the weeding, and we'd wash cars, you know, in the neighborhood, anything to earn $2, $3, $4, $5 extra dollars on weekends.
Awesome.
I've actually forgot about that. Wow.
That growing pains, right?
Yeah.
What about your parents? What did they do for a living?
My mother was a nurse for about 35 years. She's big
Wow.
into caring about people, and she loves nurturing and taking care of people. My father sold cars, so he owned car dealerships. He started off selling cars when he came over from Cuba many years after, when he figured out what he was going to do with his profession. So he started selling cars, and eventually he started to own car dealerships.
So that's where you get the entrepreneurial gene. So he had his own car business.
He did. He
Okay.
owned, I'd say, 6, 7 car dealerships before he passed away, which was at an early age.
Yeah, and you know, I read about that. You know, sometimes when something like that happens, right, like a close member or a friend passes away, that tragedy can consume a lot of people, right, with stress. But some people use that energy in a different way, right, in a positive way. Some people put it in sports, work. How did you, move forward? How did you use that energy during that time?
It's tough, and I don't really think I even knew, or my brothers and sisters knew what we were doing at the time, but I think it started with our mom. You know, we had a strong mother. When we lost our father, she kind of became both mom and dad, and she did an amazing job, and she did the best she could, not just taking care of us, but teaching us, you know, the things you need to learn as a kid, and she was really hard on us. You know, we laugh and joke all the time about all the things that we wanted to do that we thought we were old enough to do, or we were smart enough, or we can handle ourselves doing, and we had no idea. When you're a young kid, you think you know, but moms and dads, they're really there to kind of ground you and tell you, no, it's not time for any of that stuff yet.
After, you said you moved to Orlando and then back to LA. Where'd you go to college?
I went to LA Valley College in Van Nuys for a couple years. It was a 2-year community college.
Okay.
And then after that, I went to Sacramento State University, all playing baseball.
And during that time, did you know what you wanted to major in, or like, was baseball your route? Like you wanted to play maybe the majors, or?
Oh, we played a lot of sports as kids, and I got better and better as I got older. So I fell in love with obviously sports, but baseball. My dream was obviously to become a professional baseball player, but that's extremely difficult. It doesn't happen for everybody. I gave it my best shot. It didn't work out, but at the same time, I was going to school to have something else to fall back on, and so I was going to school for criminology, criminal justice. I wanted to be a police officer, then ultimately become a homicide detective.
Okay. So did you major in that?
I did.
And okay, after you got out of college, what was your first job?
I started working security. I had applied for the Burbank Police Department in Burbank, California, and so I was waiting for my academy date, and I'd gone through a few of the different tests, and they had accepted me. They were waiting on a few things and doing some of the background checks, and I got a job for about 3 months working at Warner Brothers doing security, and I was the guy that would give people their drive on and allow people to come onto the lot, whether they're walking in or driving on.
Ozzie, actually, just in getting to know you, I feel like you'd be the nicest security guard ever.
Probably. I'm a people person. I love people,
When you were working at the security gate, I was reading an article, Jennifer Aniston, maybe other superstars were coming in and out. How did you connect with her? Because I know, did she give you your first break or your first major job? Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, sure. So what had happened at the time was I was working just a regular post, Gate 2 at Warner Brothers, and I got to meet some of the producers that would come in and out all the time, and the actors as well. And it was the start of the second season of Friends. It was summer, just about to kick off the second season. Huge hit, the hottest show on TV. And the producers were looking for somebody to kind of handle the set and make sure that nobody was coming onto the set because it became so popular so quick. And so they hired me to just be security. So I was just that guy that let people come into to the set, and then I tried to kind of make sure and monitor that the crew that was supposed to be on set kind of stayed around and did what they were supposed to do.
And how did you transfer from like being a security guard, but then actually working with Jennifer and Brad Pitt and then Ellen?
Sure. I worked with, as I was working, I was hired to do security for Warner Brothers, then for Friends, and then the creators, Bright Kaufman Crane, who created Friends, Veronica's Closet, Jesse, and a bunch of other shows.
Okay.
They hired me to actually, and a producer, Todd Stevens, they hired me to work on the set of Friends. About the 6th season or so, Jennifer and Brad started dating, and Brad had never had an assistant at the time, and it's one of those things where they were looking for somebody, and although they knew I didn't have any of those skills, they felt like they trusted me enough to, hey, give this guy a shot, and whatever he doesn't know, he'll learn and he'll figure out. And so they believed in me when I didn't have any of those administrative skills. They gave me the opportunity to say, look, we know this is not necessarily what you want to do, but we believe in you, and we'd love to give you the opportunity, and how could I say no to working for Brad and Jen?
What was your exact job duties? What'd you do for them?
So I was their executive assistant, and I did a little bit of everything. I would take the dog for a walk. I'd manage the house, the housekeeping staff. So I did, I'd run errands, make sure they had their food when they needed it, make sure the trainers were set up, make sure the life and their personal things were happening as they needed them to happen, and on that schedule. And then from there, I also was privileged enough, and they trusted me enough to allow me to sit in on meetings that they would have with other actors, other directors, producers. And so I started to kind of fall in love with more of what I had learned on the set of Friends. I was there 14, 16, 18 hours a day, 5 days a week, and so the hours were long, and I got to just kind of make sure that the security was happening correctly on set. But then it was such a closed stage and set that I was able to kind of learn what the first ADs were doing, what the second ADs were doing. And the producers, again, I've been very blessed in my life because people have trusted me enough to let me into situations where maybe normally they wouldn't let other people in. So they trusted me enough because of my work ethic and my tenacity and my character. And I feel like they allowed me to be in certain situations, which then it becomes word of mouth. Then Brad needed an assistant. Jen's like, oh, maybe he can work. Then I worked for Brad and Jen, and I was with them for about the time just before they got together, obviously, and then just before they separated. And so that was about 5 years, and I followed up with working for Ellen DeGeneres and Portia de Rossi for a couple years. But I'd always wanted to produce and run some type of production entity, and again, I was just learning, so I wasn't exactly sure how all that would happen. After I spent a couple years with Ellen and Portia, I was looking for work, interviewed, got a bunch of different job offers, but there was this one person that kept calling me back for 3 job interviews, or 3 callbacks, and I wasn't sure exactly why, and at the end of the 3rd one, she said, you know, I think there's something about you, I think this could work, and I would love for you to be a part of my team, but there's someone that's like a brother to me that I also feel like that would be the right situation for you. And I said, sure, who is it? And she said, Tyler Perry. And I said, how soon can I meet him?
And what year was that?
That was in, I believe, 2005 or 2006, maybe the beginning of 2006, end of 2005.
During that time, was Tyler did he already have a lot of movies out?
He did. I think he had done his 2nd movie, and he was just about to start House of Pain.
Okay.
And he was just that iconic trailblazer that you kind of knew what he was everybody knew how big he was gonna be and how smart he is creatively. And so he had done a ton of plays. So I went home, watched every play I could. Back then, Blockbuster, they had a whole section on Tyler Perry. The plays, the movies, so it was pretty easy. I mean, I got everything I could off the shelf.
And when you got the job with Tyler Perry, you started out as an assistant, right? Same thing you were doing with Jennifer and Brad. How did you become the president of Tyler Perry Studios from being an assistant? Tell us about that story there.
When I interviewed with Tyler, we had an interview. I thought it was a good interview, but I didn't hear for maybe 4 or 5 days after, and I had some other offers that I was kind of interested in, and I needed a job. So I was just kind of holding off a little bit, and then I got a call from Tyler, said, yes, sir, I'll be there whenever you need me. But, and then I ended up, sorry, going back to your question, I lost my...
No, how did you get the job from going from an assistant to president?
So I started working for Tyler as his assistant.
Yeah.
And for the first year, my family was in LA, and so I started working with Tyler, and for the first year, a couple months into it, he said, you know, I really want you to spend more time with your family. Go back on the weekends, and I'll send you back and bring you back on Monday. But, you know, family's important, and that's really something that I have learned to love and respect about Tyler.
Absolutely.
And so I was working for him about a year, back and forth, doing the weekend thing. I was about to have a baby at the time, and I said, look, I want to move here. I talked to my wife, talked to my mom, and my brother, and they all said, look, it's time, go for it. Believe in, you know, all the things that you say you believe in. This is your time. Go ahead and do it. And so I ended up coming back that following week, and I spoke with Tyler and said, look, I'm going to move here, et cetera, et cetera. Ended up finding a place really quick. It was like within 10 days, we ended up having to move and find the schools for the kids. All worked out well. About 6 months after that, he called me. We hadn't really had any conversations about all the other things I wanted to do. He knew that I wanted to produce one day, but that was it. I spent that first 12 months to 18 months working for him as his assistant, doing the same things, bringing him his meals, making sure his calendar was set, his schedule, his calls, just doing all the small things, everything that I could think of that he would need or want or try to anticipate. That was my job, and because I had the experience of working for Brad and Jen and Ellen and some of these people, I felt like I had that, and this was my way to show him, look, let me be your guy, right? Let me be your guy. So But we hadn't had those in-depth conversations. He called me into his office one day, and I would go in there and take notes and the minutes, and then brief them later and catch up with the team. And there was about 7 or 8 of us. He called us all in there, and nobody knew what the meeting was about. But he called us into his office, once or twice a day, so it was pretty standard. And he just said, "Ozzie, stand up." And so I stood up, and my knees were shaking. I was scared.
Well, what do you think he was going to do?
I couldn't think fast enough. I didn't know why. But immediately, he kind of left me off the hook because he said, "Ozzie, stand up." And as I was starting to really get into my own head and get a little nervous, he just looked at the rest of the team, and these people had been with him for a while, and he said, "I want you guys all to help me congratulate Ozzie Areu. He's now the president of Tyler Perry Studios."
Ooh, that's awesome. So, okay.
And I had no idea. He had never mentioned it to me. Yeah. And then the rest of the team was extremely supportive. And these people had been with him a long time. He believed in me enough to say, "Hey, look, you're going to be my guy. This is our team. Let's all make this happen together." And Tyler's a big team guy.
And obviously, for him to make that decision, the whole time when you were his assistant, you were probably doing a hell of a job, right?
I was trying to do my best.
And actually, more than just working, I think you probably built that trust, right? But let's talk about the work, right? Because this show is all about the work ethic, the grind, the hustle, right? Because you can have ideas, but they're useless if you don't execute them. Mm-hmm. And I was reading an article your brother did with CNN, and then one thing he said was, people might be smarter than me, but nobody will outwork me. I thought that was a very motivating statement. And I know for a fact you don't work 8 hours a day, go home, and then Netflix and chill, right? Can you tell us what your daily grind is like? Like, even when you first started out, like how many hours a day were you working? The blood, sweat, and tears you put into it to actually get to where you are today.
I got to say, in the industry and in most industries, when you want to be successful and get ahead, you got to just do everything you can. You want to be better than the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. And I wasn't always smarter than the next guy, and I didn't have that schooling or that film education. But what I did know is that I could never be outworked. Meaning, if I wanted something, and I learned that from my father, and then in playing baseball and sports and that team thing, it's like you want something, you got to go for it. And you're going to get no's, and you're going to fail, and it's not going to happen, and people are going to laugh at you, but you got to keep going. And that happens nonstop. It happened when we're kids, and then when I'm 20 and 30 and 40 and now 44. It's always that way. People are always, you're going to have people that support you and help you, but you have to be strong. You have to have that courage. I was fortunate enough that my parents instilled that faith and that belief in me that I could be anybody I wanted to be, that Absolutely. I could do anything I wanted to do. And even if I didn't get to that place, I didn't want to feel disappointed in myself because I didn't try, because I didn't give it everything I could. So if it didn't work out, whatever it was I was doing, and this came from our mom and dad, then that's okay, but we did everything we could, and we felt okay, and we owned it, right? But if you don't go for it, if you don't make the mistakes, and people don't shut the door in your face, and they don't say, this is not going to happen for you, it's easy to quit. Right. Sometimes the difference between success and failure is just perseverance. You got to have that attitude. You got to command that authority, at least within yourself. Like, look, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. How do I get there? And you build in your mind your own path, right? And life and things happen around you, and you go off track, but you got to stay focused, and it's never easy. And I've never met anybody that's successful or that has attained at least a piece of their dream that doesn't really give it everything they got. And you have those nights and those days of struggling, and I want to do this, but how do I do this? And tenacity, work ethic, being a sponge. I think one of the secrets to my success is understanding that I don't always have the answers, but knowing that I don't have the answers, that I need to find them, I need to learn them, I need to figure out who has them, I need to have those conversations. And for me, it was knowing, if I wasn't in the situation to succeed just because I didn't have the money, I didn't know the people, I didn't have the connections, the relationships, well, make them for myself. And there was also a lot of people that, you know, I would see that had that courage and that would fight through it. And these are just people that, you know, maybe they just owned a small little restaurant or whatever. But knowing how hard and how difficult it was for them to have a little restaurant or to have a little store or to have this kind of online company, it made me realize, look, if they can do this and they can do this, and why can't I do it, right? So I wanted to be a cop when I was a kid because first grade, we had show and tell, and one of the kids in my class brought a police officer in, and that was her father. So her father was the show and tell, and talked to us about that. He was a Hispanic male.
Right.
And so as a little kid, I said, all right, I want to be a cop. You know, that's cool, that's authority. Whatever it was in my mind that got me going, and I want to help, I want to protect, you know, I want to help people that need that authority. So that inspired me to be a cop, right? To want to do good. If this Latino guy, I think he was a lieutenant at the time, and it made me realize, hey, look, if he can do it, why can't I do it?
Any time during that, you know, especially when you were first starting out, did you feel like giving up? You know, during times where, like, you know what, this is just not going to work. Did you have second thoughts?
Sure.
How do you go past that?
Well,
part?
when I was working for Brad and Jen, and I got into the Teamsters, I became a transportation driver for the union in LA, and I did that because I felt like I was always that guy that wanted to try to do more, to be extra prepared, to think outside the box, to have second and third and fourth options. So I thought, okay, I want to produce one day, but if it doesn't work out, I can be a driver, 399 Teamster driver in LA. I'll make, and it's a really good job, and that's how I'll take care of my family. So that was kind of my backup plan. But you just got to be, you know, you just got to have that tenacity and kind of go for it.
Working for Tyler Perry, what is one thing you learned from him, being around him?
I mean, it's endless. He's a pioneer. He's smart. He's just such a creative genius. How he obviously, I don't know if everybody in here knows this, but he writes all his content, his movies, his shows, his plays. He directs everything. He's super, super smart when it comes to telling stories and being a storyteller and connecting and engaging with his audience, from the writing to the directing to the casting, and then also running a major motion picture studio. I mean, this studio that he has here, 330 acres in Atlanta, I mean, it's
amazing.
It's special, and it'll be one of the biggest motion picture studios in the U.S.
And in your role as executive producer for Tyler Perry, what's your daily job duty as of now, today?
So right now we're kind of down. We're on hiatus. We're going to start picking up and shooting the shows at the top of the year. But this last 6 or 7 months, Tyler shot over 100 episodes of TV, 3 movies. And so what happens is there's a prep and a shoot and a post period for all of these things, right? So because we're down on production, shooting those things, now we're in the wrap-up phases. And then in the next month, we'll go into the prep for all the things that Tyler's writing and for next year that he plans on doing. Okay. So right now, my days are, 8 o'clock in the morning in the office, figure out what's happening, what happened the day before, and then I talk to him about every day or so when he's not in the office, when he's traveling. He's promoting the movie right now, Boo, so he's been doing a crazy 2.5-week circuit. He's all over the place. He's a machine, that guy. So right now we're at maybe 10, 12 hours a day. And when we're shooting, sometimes we're doing 16, 18, 20-hour days. And that's just not us or the studio. That's this business, right? Yeah. So when you're shooting and when you're in production, and even when you're not, you're always trying to find the next project, do the next thing, find the next great big idea. With Tyler, we're blessed enough that the ideas come from him. He writes, creates, he does all that stuff himself. So what we do at the studio, my brother, Mark, and myself, we try to just kind of put all the pieces of the puzzle together for him, and have the machine working. So once he does his mojo, once he does his thing, he turns to one of us and says, "Hey, here's this, here's this, here's this." Then we kind of spread the word amongst the team, get things going, and then so it makes the machine work really kind of like in a streamlined approach for him.
That's amazing.
Because he's not writing one show, he's writing 5, and he's writing everything else that he's doing. And most TV show teams have 6, 8, 10 writers on it.
Yeah.
And, some of the movies, the same thing. So, and then you got the director, so it separates the work. This man does it all.
Wow. Ozzie, what I want to do, get to know you on a more personal level. So I got a few questions. Just answer them with whatever comes to your mind first.
No.
Sounds good? You ready? All right, name one song that motivates you and gets you pumped.
Oh, man. All the way up. All the way up.
The remix.
All the way up. Yes, the clean version.
All right. Name 3 people that inspire you.
Oh, wow. Tyler Perry, and Tyler Perry.
All right, good answer. What's your favorite restaurant?
Poppies.
Cuban?
Poppies Cuban restaurant here in
that's
Atlanta.
good.
Yeah.
Which location?
Midtown.
It's who's your favorite actor or actress?
I'm a huge Jennifer Aniston fan. And, I obviously, but I mean, it's real. And Pacino. God love Pacino.
Classic. What's your favorite movie?
Shawshank Redemption or Usual Suspects.
All right. What would you say your greatest
And The
achievement?
Matrix. Love the first Matrix.
Oh.
Sorry.
No, what's your greatest achievement, you'd say?
My family.
Okay.
I'm blessed enough to have 3 amazing kids. And, when you have a good support system like I do, it makes everything easy. In my industry, you work long hours. And, I'm lucky enough that I have a supportive wife and my kids. And so when I'm with them, I try to kind of disconnect everything else a little bit, but they understand. My kids are out in the business as well. My daughter is going to University of Miami studying TV and film and music business. And both of my kids have, one of them's acting on one of Tyler's shows, If Loving You Is Wrong, and the little guy, my son, he's been doing some modeling, some acting. So they love the business, yeah.
Okay. What's the hardest part of being you?
That's a good question.
Life is good.
Things are great. I would say I'm so proactive that I'm always thinking about the future and thinking about what can we do with this? How do we do this? What if we come up with this? So I think that just taking time for myself, I would say, just to have those quiet and peaceful moments, because I feel like I'm an affectionate person, so I'm always kind of giving to my family and to my job.
Okay.
And so I feel like sometimes I just need to kind of, relax a little bit so I can process and decompose and be able to think more.
Reflect a little bit. In your life so far, what year did you work the hardest and why?
You got some good questions, Chirag. Wow. I'd say I'd say it's a good question. The first year that I was working for Tyler, because my wife was pregnant and I was going back and forth a lot. And so that was really, it was tough. I never shared those things with Tyler.
He didn't know at a time.
He's so smart. I'm sure he noticed it. And that's probably why he was so good and flew me back and forth and would bring my family out. But I'd say when I first started working with Tyler.
Okay.
And then over the last year or so, because with all the things that he's got going on in his future, for my brother and Mark and myself, we're tasked to kind of, help him implement all the beautiful ideas that he has.
Okay. This part of the show I call the golden nugget, the words of wisdom. You've accomplished a lot in your career. You're spearheading one of the biggest movie studios in the country. You've learned a lot. What is your greatest piece of advice you can give to aspiring entrepreneurs, businessmen and women out there?
You never know everything. You feel like, okay, I got a good grasp on this, and that's great. Get more information. Don't stop. Don't stop learning. Don't stop understanding what's happening in whatever field you're in, right? So you try to learn what's happening in that field and in that part of the, in the world, in that field. What are other people doing, right? So you may just have that one germ or speck of the idea that you just kind of get from watching or seeing something else, And that little nugget alone can spark your own creativity. And that happens to my brother and I a lot. So I say, just be a sponge, learn, and two things. Network, network, network.
Actually, that's my motto too.
Yeah. No, it's one person. For me, when I wanted to do all the things that now I'm able to do, it just took one person to believe in me to say, hey, yeah, we'll hire this kid. He can watch the set of Friends. And then it took Jennifer to say, yeah, we'll give him a shot. And Brad, what do you think about this guy? And then it took Ellen to say, yeah, he's worked for Brad and Jen and Friends. Maybe we'll give him a shot as well. And then Tyler to say, look, you've been doing all these things. You haven't asked for this. I haven't talked to you about it, but I believe in you. So one person can change your life. Little by little, or those big jumps, just one person. So you never know who that one person is.
Absolutely. Never burn bridges.
Never.
Yes, yeah.
And I gotta say, never. And I have to say, that one person that introduced me to Tyler Perry, that interviewed me 3 times and said, I just think you'd be better with someone that's really close to me, that's like a brother to me, who I adore, and that was Tyra Banks. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I've never even shared that, but she believed enough in me to keep calling me back and say, you got to go meet this guy. So thank you, Tyra.
Awesome. I have one last question from me, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. What type of legacy do you want to leave behind, and how do you want people to remember you as?
I try to be a good man.
Yeah.
You know, it's important. Character, my father and mother really instilled in us that character, that honor, that integrity. And you don't need to step on somebody else to grow. If you're really going after it with the good intentions, you may be pushed aside. Maybe people don't notice it at first. But when they do notice, they'll also notice that you were the one that just kept going and kept going. And then when they believe in you and when they put that trust in you, it just means that much more.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Ozzie Areu.
My name is Ralphine Childs. My question is, it seems that so many really successful people today, their family life is jacked up. Like many of them are divorcing and their home life is getting 2 and 3 and 4 divorces, but they're making millions and millions of dollars. I said my prayer to God was, I want to be hugely successful, but if it's got to be at the risk of me losing my family, then I'll just be that doorkeeper, that person that's, you know what I'm saying? My family means everything to me. How do you balance it so that you can have both?
Anybody? No, one at a time, yeah. You can say it.
It's very hard. It's very, well, as Ozzie said, I think earlier, we have to be blessed being with the right person sometimes. Sometimes I understand that you're grinding, you know, it's very hard and this is a choice you made. And it doesn't mean that it's going to work, but if you have a group that I call the family, a real core that is here for you on a daily basis, you want to provide the best and the fastest you can. So if you're lucky enough to get that core with you every day, that's going to help you, and it's going to give you even more like strength, you know what I mean? And I don't think everybody has the same chance. That I think I have the same circumstances than Ozzie, and I'm very blessed because my wife is very comprehensive, and she's here every day. I was telling her, I'm like, doing what you're doing, staying home and taking care of the kids, I couldn't do that. It's very hard. It's a very whole job. And doing what I'm doing, I have to do the same thing. I have to counterbalance that thing, and I have to hustle, and make it work. There's no way. I have to work. I don't care. You don't care how many hours you have to work. You have to do it for your family. That's it.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alex Wagner, and I actually have a question for Ozzie and Will. Since I'm kind of fascinated with this whole coming from nothing and going to something, And we kind of have been doing exactly the same thing, but not to that level where you guys are at. And I have more of a, I guess, strategic question or more business question is, how do you actually strategize, who do you talk to? When do you talk to? And how do you get in front of the right people? If you have this great idea, how do you actually implement that idea and feed it to the right individual?
I'll take that. It's a good question. It's difficult. You got to grind, you got to grind, you got to grind. If you have something that's important, that's special to you, you got to figure out who that would make sense for, right? So if you have your group of people or your A group, B group that you want to get it to, are you talking about film specifically or just in general?
Yes, for us, we have created a technology that allows people to buy anything they see, specifically like from movies or from media with a click of a button. So, but to actually get in front of the people in the movie industry that actually make any kind of decisions, it's nearly impossible, or at least in Atlanta, from our experience.
It's difficult. This is a good way to start. These types of environments, and this is part of the networking approach that I said, and just you can't stop. You have to be relentless. You have to think about who your idea will work for, and think about how
Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry? Well, then we should talk afterwards. But no, you have to stay aggressive in what you believe, and you have to have that conviction. And if it's something that you're serious about that's a content thing, then we can definitely talk about it afterwards.
I'd like to add on. I'd like to add to that because I'm an entrepreneur, like with app experience and all that. I think essentially it's what Chirag has said. It's networking, getting out there. You can't just pitch it to a celebrity. That has to go through 10 levels of qualifications before it gets to them. It's honestly what Ozzie, I'm going to echo what Ozzie says, it's networking. You have to be out there. And if you believe in your product enough, then you have to have the fortitude to say, hey, Ozzie, take a look at this, man. Give me 10 minutes, give me 5 minutes. So essentially that's my advice.
And keep trying. Persistence, 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 persistence.
Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Justice Miranda. I am actually wondering, my cousin and I actually own a small business, well, the first on-demand personal assisting business. So your story to us, Ozzie, was amazing. But my question to you guys is, what advice would you give minority-owned small businesses that are disruptors in the tech field?
Good one for you, Frank.
Wow, that's awesome. I know the question was more geared to you.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah.
I got the tech thing, so I thought, will you ask your question one more time, please? I'm sorry. I can hear you. I can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay, perfect. What advice would you give minority-owned small business owners? And I just will say just that
Specifically for a personal assistant or?
No, just in general.
Oh, you got to be aggressive. And you got to be smart. You got to stay into that passion that you have for a company like that. It's not always easy, and oftentimes it's harder for minorities. But I think you rally around each other, and I think minority groups support minority groups, and people help each other. So I say you have to stay persistent, and I'm happy to talk to you about that because that's kind of me. I have a lot of friends that started as assistants, and we've moved up a little bit. Yeah, you're here.
Yeah, good job.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for your time, and thank you for coming and sharing your experience. My name is Dr. Bowles, Monica Bowles, and I recently moved here from North Carolina. And my question is for Ozzie, because I just moved here as an actor, but I understand when you said, well, I had to be a truck driver, get into Teamsters because I had to support my family, that for my side hustle. So dentistry was actually my side hustle. So I had to be a doctor to support my family so I could do a side hustle, which was the long way around. But my question is when you made that transition from being a personal assistant to being a leader of a corporation, how was that shift? Because that's not a day-to-day shift. That's a whole 360. So how did you embrace that, and what was your first day like as the president of this big movie company versus being an executive assistant to getting meals and making sure the maids show up? It's a whole different shift. So how did you make that shift, and what were some of the gears that you had to, kick in and put into place to make it go?
I try to be a big visionary guy, and I try to dream big. And so when I was younger, I always tried to have 2, 3, 4 irons in the fire, and I always wanted to have my plan A, my plan B, my plan C, and the Teamsters was kind of like my plan B, plan C, depending. But I also knew I wanted to produce. And when the baseball and police thing didn't happen, I wanted to produce. So how was I going to get to produce? At that point, you just can't become a producer unless you get attached to a project, you create something. I didn't go to school for any of that, so for me it was, how do I get there? And so at that point I thought, well, maybe through the actor route, the production route, the studio route. And so working with them, as I was working with all the different talent and at Warner Brothers, I always knew I wanted to produce. I realized I got to learn as much as I can while I'm in the know or in the group of being around kind of these social circles, always knowing that I wanted that bigger vision and that bigger plan, but having plan B, C, and not really sharing these other plans with everybody else, always kind of like thinking, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do. So I say you just have to kind of stay on it. For me, my personal story is I just kind of kept dreaming bigger and bigger and bigger, and I had my vision boards and what I believed and what I wanted to do, and you gotta believe, you have to. I gotta say that I look back at my vision board that I created just before I started working with Tyler about 12 years ago. I literally just found that board last week, and when I saw it, I was shocked at what I saw and what I'd written down and where I am now and what I'm doing. Without going into details, it was so close and so similar to where I wanted to live, the house I wanted to live in, what I wanted to do, who I wanted to work with. And I mean, it's like 9 out of 10 of those major things is what I'm living today. But I had to be aggressive and have that big vision, have the other plans, and just feeling like, hey, look, if you get laughed at, if it doesn't work out for you, there's another person, there's another door. You just got to stay motivated, and you can't let those little things knock you down because they can demoralize you and just kind of kill your will. And if you lose your will, it's tough to get it going again. I've been blessed when I've been down in my life. I have a good support system. Not everybody does, unfortunately, but I'd say have your plan A, B, or C, and just dream big, bigger than you can. When I first started working for Tyler, and after he promoted me, I had big dreams of what I wanted to do, and he just kind of continued to make them bigger and bigger and bigger, and he would push us to dream bigger, do more, think bigger. And when you do that, you get all those wonderful things that come into your life, and that's kind of what's happened for my brother and I.
And he called me screaming. That's how he handled the shift. No, to touch base on Ozzie was said, and to answer the question as well, just to add a little bit to it. I think really the shift began a long time ago. It really starts, I think, for both Ozzie and I, and really every single job we had. There's the truest saying and the biggest saying is you learn something from every job. And I can tell you that looking back, whether it be communication skills, learning how to analyze stuff really operationally, and really diving in people skills is a very big thing, because you deal with people all the time, across from you, below you, above you, in all sorts, in all facets of life. And I can honestly tell you that was one of the key factors. And the biggest thing for us is, the biggest advice I can give is, if you want to get to another job or another level, be the best at what you're doing at that time. If you're sweeping floors, be the best floor sweeper there is. And that's how you get noticed. That's how you get your opportunities. And there's a lot to be learned in all those different positions and all those different fields. And because you get put in different positions. When I look back today, and I think about where I am and what my responsibilities are to this day, I can honestly look back at every job that I've ever had and know that I took a piece of that with me.
Yeah, thank you for letting me do this. I'm very interested, Ozzie, but I'm also very curious about any of your stories of what really set you apart. I mean, you as I'm just imagining at Warner Brothers, your original job, just as basically a gatekeeper, what set you apart as actually the guy who lifted the gate for these producers and Jennifer Aniston, and what made them take notice of you? But if anyone has a great story of that, I would like to hear that as well.
I want to answer that for him.
Yeah.
Have you seen the guy smile? I mean, enough said, right?
I've always tried to be good to people, and I hope that showed off when I didn't know who these producers were coming through the gate, and you say hello, welcome, thanks for coming, whatever it is that you'd say at the time. And then it just takes that one person to say, hey, we need somebody, instead of hiring somebody we don't know, would you consider doing this? And I think for me, it's been like that every step of the way. So you build your reputation, and then when my bosses have looked back and called my previous bosses to check up on, what are my skills like, what am I good at, what am I not so good at, everybody's always given me good, positive recommendations and been honest to my other employer of the things that I'm not so good at. And in that process, that kind of gets you a little bit like, all right, I guess I may have been better at that than I really was, and then I would understand that and then put more into it for my previous jobs. But it was kind of like that right place, right time for me, but then it could have lasted a week or a day. At that point, it became my responsibility to then take ownership and own it. Whatever I was doing, I'd own it. If I was walking Jen's dog, I would own it. If I was cleaning the kitchen, I would own it. I just did everything I could to make them happy. And in turn, it's very easy for people to say, oh, yeah, he's our guy. You can trust him. He's great at this. He's great at this. And wanting to strive for bigger and more was a big factor. It was a big driving force for me.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Crystal Bennett. I go to the Art Institute of Atlanta. I'm sorry you didn't get to go. These are my fellow classmates right here.
Yeah!
Atlanta!
We're all studying film at the time. We're working on a project ourselves together. But I connect more with Ozzie. I wanted to be a cop before the film, and then one day I just woke up and was like, hey, I need to do film. Because all the doors closed for the cop thing, but then when I started going into the film, more doors opened. And it was kind of like amazing. It's a great feeling when you get, prompts for your work. Like you say, you just be great at what you do. But basically, my questioning for Ozzie is, do you need an assistant? Hey, you can have more than one. You can have more than two.
Hey, Will also needs an assistant. Just saying.
Hey, well, I'm looking for the brother, the cousin, the uncle, the auntie, everybody, anybody, just to get a foot in the door, just to get the experience or whatever.
Let me say that great people are always good to find. So, when, and we'll talk afterwards, but yeah, when you find somebody that's really great. So by saying that, what I mean is, if it's something you feel like you can be really good at, I have someone that helps me. But if it's something that you feel like there's a lot of people within our organization that are looking for assistance, and not just our organization, but jobs around town. So I'm happy to talk to you more about that after. You just want to be really good at what you're doing. No matter how small the task is, no matter what you're doing, just do it the best you can.
Hey, can we bring Nicole up here, please?
Yeah.
Come on up here, Nicole. Come on up here. Everybody.
And Carol.
Can we call Carol up here too? Come on.
So this is Nicole, and she's my right hand.
So guys, listen. Atlanta is not a small city. I'm from LA, but Atlanta is not a small city. And I gotta tell you, if it wasn't for these ladies right here, I'd be lost. I didn't even know where, like, where's north, where's east. We were completely lost. And you know, I had my French friend here. It was even, I mean, you know, it's like speaking French, you know the term? So a big round of applause for them. Seriously, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. You guys are wonderful. I love you. And so, talk to her.
Good evening. Thank you guys so much for coming out and talking to us. It's been wonderful. My name is Khalil Thompson, and the question I have for you is, you know, technology has really lowered the barrier of entry for content creators, and there's a lot of content creators in here I know that are amongst us. And the question I have for you is, with that being said, what do you see as the single biggest opportunity for content creators and creatives to get into the business, to elevate their game and get their content in front of more eyes?
With all the platforms that are available today, it's a content maker's dream. What you need to do is separate yourself from all the other content that's out there. But with all the different platforms and, you know, the watching TV anywhere, anytime, this is actually the best time for people like you. You just got to create content that people want to see, that is important, that creates conversation, controversy, something that is interesting to people, and you just got to do that really, really good.
And that's a hard, I mean, putting myself on the other side of the audience, I hear a lot of questions of how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it? And you know, I know that from this end, you keep hearing, don't give up, don't give up. You got to keep grinding. You got to keep grinding. And you might be saying, well, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing, but it's not working. But I mean, obviously that's a big piece of it. You can't give up, but you do. It is networking. You do have to get in front of. You have to come to a lot of functions like this way. You do have to put yourself in front of people like Ozzie and myself and other people in the industry. You do have to beat down the doors at the studios, in the unions, in the crews, if the film industry is what you want to get into, to get noticed, to get your product in front of people's faces, because. You know, 100 people could tell you it's no good. They don't like it. But at the same time, you know, it's like a piece of art. You know, 100 people can look at it and think it's ugly, and then one person thinks it's beautiful. So you do have to keep pushing it. And I understand the frustration that comes along with that. I mean, I can feel it. So that's why I'm answering this question in that manner. But you have to keep networking. You have to come to functions like this. You have to find out, you know, with the studio, for example, with Tyler Perry Studios. You have to connect with the web page, follow the directions, you know, keep submitting your things, and then once you keep doing that, then all it takes is one person. And even if I'm not interested in it, I may be having a meeting next week with somebody else. I'm gonna say, hey, this is not for us. Maybe this is for you. And essentially, of course, it takes a little bit of luck, but you won't have that little bit of luck unless you have that exposure. So you have to really give yourself that much exposure as much as you can.
And that's why he's my better half, right there.
Awesome. We got a question back here.
Hold on. I want to chime on. You said low barrier of entry. So it's technology. It's 2017. I mean, gosh, it's beautiful right now. You can create your own content. You can load it on YouTube. And then the biggest part of it is you need to be able to market that. And what I've said is put it to where someone else is going to use it. Share it. Like, clicks, shares, viral. Boom. Then you know what? You go to these guys and say, hey, guess what? I have about 300,000 subscribers. You think that they're not going to go, it's a safe bet. You got a secured audience already, and you're creating your own content with nobody else. It's the biggest democracy in the world. It's amazing. That's what technology is. So, you know, what I would say and what I tell you tech people out there is we have all those tools. Look, there's no secret out there anymore. Netflix is doing pretty damn good. Amazon's doing pretty damn good. Hulu, I can keep going. So guys, it's out there. Create your stuff. Do what you do well. And what you do well is what? Create content. Pretty much.
And what Frank is saying too is put it on a platform. I mean, the internet has changed the game, right? YouTube has changed the game. And I will tell you that we do look at that stuff. I look at that stuff all the time. Ozzie looks at that stuff all the time. The producers look at that stuff all the time. And just because you're not getting a hit doesn't mean it's not being talked about. You're just one phone call away, and there's been tons of projects Ozzie and I look at online all the time that we're trying to find for Tyler, that we're researching, but timing is everything too. Depends on where we're at the time, how many projects are going on. But I will tell you that that is one of the biggest things in the industry today that entrepreneurs and people in the film industry have going for them is the internet. Because, back in the day, you'd have to advertise. It was all, knocking on doors. And we do, and I know a lot of the professionals in the industry, we do pay attention to those things.
Good evening. My name is Jada Cofield. So my question is in regards to the Veryfier app. How long has that app been in the App Store? Did you guys do any rounds of funding, or was this all a private investment? And are you looking to invest in other tech startup companies now?
Thank you. We launched iOS first. That was the biggest gamble about 6 months ago.
Okay.
That was pretty tough, yeah. And we built based on the pressure of this guy. I'm kidding.
Okay.
No pressure at all, but we made it in 1 month. All functional, no crash, no bugs, anything like that.
How many months?
1 month.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
The iOS end.
After the iOS. So we made the iOS in 6 months, pretty much. And it took us like a month to have Android ready, fully functional. We had to, as Ozzie said, when you have to get it done, you just have to get it done, no matter what. You just don't sleep, you go for it. So that's what we did. Talking about rounds of funding, yes, we had Ozzie investing in the company first. That was the biggest bet, I guess, and he did a good move, I guess. And now we are welcoming Will. Yeah. It's pretty recent. It's part of the original founders.
So for me, Veryfier was just very simple. It was something personal, along with Ozzie. It's just something that was simple for us. I've been there many times, online, wanted to buy something, whether it be for a family member, for my mom, and it was just something that just clicked. For me, it was something that just completely made sense. At the same time, it does provide a lot of jobs. And to go back to one of the questions out here, it's hard with your time. Your time is very, a lot of these days you've got families, you've got kids, you've got a lot of responsibilities, and a lot like Uber, it sets your own schedule. So you're free to work as many hours for the day if you want on the weekends, and to create extra cash flow, and at the same time provide a service to those people around you that may need it. So for us, it was kind of a no-brainer to just fall back behind this app and come along with these guys, because there's been many times when we've been in that situation.
So are you looking to invest in other tech startups, or are you just focusing on Veryfier right now?
For me, we're always looking for great ideas. And that's a loaded question. I get it. But it's like one of those things that's impossible to respond to anything. But for me, I'm focused on Veryfier right now, along with all my other responsibilities. But at the same time, I'm open to, as I think we all are, to getting back behind other things at different times if it's something that we really believe in. But right now, this is our baby.
What an awesome answer. No, good luck to you.
Good evening. I'm Jose Marquez. I'm the Georgia Latino Film Festival and the Georgia Latino Film Alliance. One of the questions I want to ask is, you guys are all industry leaders. So with the industry growing so much here in Atlanta, what is, in your crystal ball, what are you guys seeing, and where's the future?
And for entertainment?
For entertainment, film, yeah, definitely.
So here in Georgia, obviously, I think that the industry has had a $7-8 billion economic impact here, just last year alone. I think the industry coming here, the tax credit has been extremely important, not just for what Tyler's company does, but all the movies and the shows that are coming from Hollywood to Atlanta. And I think that, I believe, and I really know that it's helped with the Atlanta Tech Village as well. The industry's moving here. This is, I think, the second biggest tech village in the United States, I believe, behind. Yeah. So, I mean, groups of people like you guys, like all of us in the entertainment and in the tech space. Atlanta's only getting bigger. The incentives that are here, the investors that are here, the VC companies and firms that are here, looking for people like us with things that we create and people like you guys. It's the Mecca. It's what's fresh and green. And I can't tell you how many of my friends are moving here from LA and New York and all over the country for tech and for also the movie industry, because it's not even a secret anymore. I mean, people talk about it all the time. And people say, how did you know to move to Atlanta way back then? And I really didn't know. I mean, I was just following my dream with Tyler. But Atlanta's the place to be. Atlanta, Georgia's the place to be for TV and film and tech. And this is our first foray into tech. We love the space. We've always wanted to be a part of an app somewhere. And so when Frank, I reached out to Frank, said, look, I'm looking to do some things like this with my brother about a year ago, 10 months ago. He said, I may have some things, and we were looking into casino gaming and stuff like that. And he says, I got the right project, the right thing. He talked to Laurent, brought me in. I brought my brother in way back when, and now he's gotten more heavily involved now. And but it's an exciting thing here in Georgia, and it's only going to continue to grow. And we're just such a small piece of everything else. If we feel it here, trust me, the rest of the United States is thinking about it, and they hear about it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. It's exploding over here. I mean, it's pretty much, you know, the New York, LA of the Midwest. More and more productions are coming here. More and more players are coming here from all different facets of skill sets, from the different unions and different things. You know, us at the studio, you know, it's no secret that, you know, Tyler's building all these sound stages, and we've got a tremendous amount of interest and you know, movies and a lot of people. It's gonna continue to explode and expand. So it's a really, really good move for everybody who's here already. The environment, the industry, the cost of living, you know, everything is going to, I foresee it going up, because this is, you know, becoming the Mecca of the Midwest as far as entertainment and production.
And I have to just give thanks to two quick people really quick, Governor Deal and Mayor Kasim Reed, because those two, for our industry, on the entertainment side, have really spearheaded the tax incentive and making sure that not only were things ready here in Atlanta and in the state of Georgia for TV and film and tech and all the things that are happening here now, and for all these entrepreneurs that are coming out of it, out of Georgia. But they really believed way back then, and they supported filmmakers and studio owners like Tyler Perry. Tyler was one of the first people here who was just doing his movies year after year and creating his shows. And he was here before the tax incentive. And then there's a lot of people that have contributed to that, but our governor and our mayor have really done an exceptional job, and everybody in the industry should really thank them every chance they get.
Hi.
Hello. Thank you for having this wonderful event. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming. My name is Sadani Steele, and I know that you said Mr. Tyler Perry writes all of his plays and movies and all of that. What if a writer wants to work with him? Any opportunities that a writer would have to work with the studio?
Yeah, he has a company called 34th Street Films where he works with outside writers, producers, directors, and that is the entity under Tyler Perry Studios banner that creates content that Tyler doesn't write and direct himself. We have a bunch of projects into development, so through that organization, he accepts submissions through the appropriate channels, which is, you know, having an agent, an attorney, and that's to the benefit of you and the studio because it protects both sides. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't answer all that for you.
You did,
You
but
sure?
I might have to see you afterwards.
Yeah,
so.
sure.
For somebody that wants to work with him, it's difficult. It's very difficult because he is so hands-on that these stories come from his mind. So Ozzie was saying, yeah, the 34th Street side is definitely something that uses for that. But as far as, you know, there may come a time, the beauty of Tyler, obviously, is he's a one-man show. He's not, doesn't work traditionally like the other studios do. So he, makes his own rules, writes his own laws in regards to that, what kind of shows he wants to bring to the table. And he's so passionate about it that, usually he has a direction that he wants to go in. But that is not to say that at any given moment, tomorrow he could call Ozzie or I into the office and say, hey, I want to do this show, but I'm going to be busy working on these. Find me a team of writers to work for this, to help me with this or these other 2 shows. Because now as the studio is expanding, there is going to be a lot more of that. So that's definitely a possibility in the future. But that's something, in as far as that regard, that usually comes from him, and then he'll pass it along to us, and then that's when we'll put the feelers out for people like yourself.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
My question is for Ozzie. And when it comes to the creative freedom part to the film industry, only a certain few directors, such as I guess the greats like Spielberg, I guess Edgar Wright, Ridley Scott, they have that creative freedom. And that's one thing I like about Tyler Perry. He shows a lot of creative freedom. So from a producer standpoint, you being a producer, is it more of, because I know you have to do deals with big companies like Lionsgate and everything, but you being a producer, does that give Tyler Perry more creative freedom by you being on his side and you kind of putting in more and negotiating things with certain people?
Well, I assist and I do my best, and so does my brother and the other executives, to help Tyler do what he does. But he's a one-man show. The creativity, the business, it really starts with him and then kind of flows down. We're lucky enough, we have a group of people in the organization that have been with Tyler for a long time, so we've gotten to know how he thinks. We think that we try to anticipate all of his moves, but you can never anticipate somebody like Tyler's moves or thoughts. But so we assist him, but it starts with him. He kind of gives that creative direction, that business direction, and from there, the people that he has surrounded himself with assist him in that process. And we do have those relationships with the other studios and directors and producers on behalf of Tyler and the organization. So he puts a lot of trust in us, and we obviously believe in him.
And then we put a lot of trust in a lot of other people. And that's the truth. Because there's no way that Ozzie and I can sit up here and do everything. The people that are here today, our assistants that came up, Patrick, we've got a lot of people here and a lot of people not here. And that's really the only way it gets done. But the key is trust. It really is. Because you put the people below you and around you, and you have to put so much trust in him. Because if something goes wrong, we're the ones getting screamed at, as we should be. It's our responsibility. But we are so grateful and so thankful and so lucky to have the people that we have, working for us. It really is not possible without them.
He's allowed us to create a great culture at Tyler Perry Studios on his behalf. And it's just from the top down, and in our opinion, from the bottom all the way up as well. So it's a great place to work at.
Everybody, we have a lot of questions, but limited time. Are you guys okay if we break and you guys get to meet the team one-on-one and ask questions? You guys okay with that?
Sure.
Okay, because I know we can't get to everybody, but I think it might be a better option if we just, one more question, and then we'll break.
This is real quick. I'm a mother of 4. My last one will graduate from college in December, but he's in film school and he went to NYU. And I just he wanted me to ask, do you do internships at Tyler Perry Studio? He would like to intern. He's in film.
We're just starting to do that, and
Okay.
it's not posted on the site or anything now, but if you want to get with Nicole afterwards.
Okay, Nicole.
she'll
Okay,
give-
thank you.
Yeah, she'll give you the info. But it is something that Tyler's a big giver, and he's been that one-man show for so long. Now that he's moved into this much bigger complex, and he's putting up all the sound stages and building the back lot, and it's time now, and towards the end of this year.
Okay.
We've had some interns this year as well.
Okay.
And as we continue to kind of build the studio structure system in place, one of the things that's really important to him is to be a part of the community. So he's going to be doing tours in the future. We're going to be doing internships and all the fun
Great.
stuff
I'll
for the
provide his
community.
information with Nicole. Thank you.
I would verify that.
Okay. I have the app.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Ozzie, Laurent, Frank, and Will, thank you.